Imagine meeting someone who feels like home from the very first moment. That's exactly how it was for Sarah and Alex. They met at a friend's birthday party on a warm summer evening. Alex walked straight up to her, smiled that easy, confident smile, and said, "I've been looking for you all night." Sarah laughed, her cheeks flushed, and within weeks they were inseparable. He sent her good morning texts, planned surprise picnics, told her she was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. He made her feel chosen, special, like the center of his universe. Their love felt intense, passionate, almost magical. Sarah thought, this is what real love is supposed to feel like. But slowly, almost without her noticing, things began to change. At first, it was little jokes, playful teasing in front of friends. Alex would mimic the way Sarah got excited about her favorite books, or roll his eyes when she talked too much about her day. She laughed it off at first. He's just joking, she told herself. But when she gently asked him to stop, saying it hurt her feelings, he'd smirk and say, "Come on, you're too sensitive. Can't you take a joke?" And somehow, she ended up apologizing for being too serious. That was the first crack in the fairy tale. Months turned into years, and the cracks grew wider. Alex had a temper that flared over the smallest things: a delayed text reply, a dish left in the sink, Sarah wanting to spend an evening with her old college friends. He'd raise his voice, call her selfish, accuse her of not caring about him. The next day, he'd act like nothing happened. He'd bring her flowers, kiss her forehead, and say, "I had a rough day yesterday. You know I didn't mean it." Sarah would nod, relieved the storm had passed, and tell herself, every couple fights, "I just need to be more understanding." But deep down, she started walking on eggshells. She learned to read his moods the second he walked through the door. If his jaw was tight, she'd stay quiet. If he sighed heavily, she'd rush to make things better, cook his favorite meal, cancel her plans, put his needs first. She told herself this was love. This was commitment. This was what you do when you care about someone. Sarah became an expert at smoothing everything over. Whenever there was tension, she was the one who apologized first, even when she hadn't done anything wrong. She was the one who repaired, who forgave, who carried the emotional weight of the relationship. And slowly, she stopped sharing her own hurts, because every time she tried, Alex turned it around. Asterisk, "You're always making me the bad guy." He'd say, asterisk, "You're remembering it wrong. I never said that." Asterisk, "If you didn't push my buttons, I wouldn't get so angry." Asterisk, "You're too emotional. You blow everything out of proportion." Sarah started to doubt herself. Maybe she was too sensitive. Asterisk, maybe she was asking for too much. Maybe she really was the problem. One night, after another explosive argument where Alex had shouted and called her names, Sarah sat alone on the bathroom floor crying. She finally snapped back, yelled things she didn't mean, things she instantly regretted. The next morning, Alex looked at her coldly and said, "See, this is why we fight. You're just as bad as me." And Sarah, filled with shame, believed him. She apologized again. She promised to do better. She pulled away even more from her friends, because she didn't want anyone to see how crazy she had become. That's when the isolation really set in. Alex didn't like her going out without him. He'd question who she was texting, check her phone when she was in the shower, accuse her of flirting even when she was just being friendly. He told her her hobbies were childish, and that she should focus more on him. Over time, Sarah stopped seeing her friends. She stopped painting the passion she'd had since childhood because Alex said it took too much time away from us. Asterisk, and the worst part, when she tried to talk about how neglected and lonely she felt, Alex would explode or give her the silent treatment for days. Then, out of nowhere, he'd switch back, bring her coffee in bed, hold her close, tell her how much he loved her. Those moments of kindness kept her hooked. She thought, see, he can be so loving. If I just figure out how to keep him happy, we can have this all the time. But that cycle, the highs after the lows, had a name. It's called a trauma bond. Sarah was trapped in a relationship where the same person who hurt her was the only one who could comfort her. And every time she thought about leaving, the fear crept in. Who else would want me? I've become so difficult. Maybe I really am too much. Let me pause the story for a moment and talk directly to you. If any of this sounds familiar, if you've ever felt confused, exhausted, or like you're always the one trying to fix things, you are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. You are not the problem. Emotional abuse doesn't always leave visible bruises, but it wounds just as deeply. It shows up in the constant criticism, the twisting of your words, the blame shifted onto you for their anger, the mockery disguised as jokes, the silent treatment meant to punish you, the jealousy that isolates you from everyone else. It shows up when your feelings are dismissed, when your pain is minimized, when you're told you're overreacting for asking to be treated with basic respect. Asterisk. And here's the truth, Sarah eventually had to face. You cannot feel safe with someone who thinks your needs are a burden. You cannot find the right words for someone committed to misunderstanding you. You cannot build trust with someone who feels entitled to hurt you and then blame you for their behavior. Real love doesn't make you shrink. Real love doesn't require you to abandon yourself to stay connected. Real love doesn't make you afraid to speak up. Real love says, I'm sorry, I hurt you, that was wrong. Here's how I'm going to change so it doesn't happen again. Real love takes accountability. Real love wants to understand your pain, not weaponize it. Back to Sarah. One day, after another cycle of rage followed by sweetness, Sarah looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. She was anxious all the time. She'd stopped laughing freely. She felt small, unworthy, exhausted from trying to be good enough. That was her turning point. With trembling hands, she called an old friend she hadn't spoken to in years. She cried as she told the truth for the first time, and that friend didn't judge her. They just listened and said, "You deserve so much better." Slowly, with support, Sarah began to rebuild her sense of self. She started painting again. She reconnected with the people who truly loved her. And most importantly, she learned that love should never feel like survival. She deserved consistency, kindness, respect. She deserved a partner who saw her as an equal, who was excited to grow with her, not control her. And so do you. If you're watching this today and something inside you is whispering, "This sounds like my relationship," please hear this. You are not alone. You are not too much. You are not crazy. You deserve a love that feels safe, one where you can show up fully as yourself without fear. A love that repairs after conflict, that listens when you're hurting, that celebrates you instead of tearing you down. It's okay to walk away from anything that diminishes your light. It's okay to choose yourself, because the right person will never make you feel like you have to earn their kindness. The right person will never punish you for having needs. The right person will fight to understand you, not to win against you. You deserve real love. Don't settle for less. If this story touched you, drop a heart in the comments or share your thoughts anonymously. You're not alone on this journey, and if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Sometimes, a story like Sarah's can be the gentle wake-up call they need. Asterisk. Thank you for listening. Take care of your heart. You're worth it.